Good morning, friends and learners on the interwebs. I'm Rachael Blaske.
And I'm Julie Ahern.
And today's topic is distribution. And Julie and I, veterans of the board game industry, will chat with Jenelle Risser over a good cup of coffee and discuss this topic that we feel is an important part of running a board game publishing company. All the while discussing your comments and questions in the live chat because you're invited.
And this week is sponsored by Arcane Wonders, publisher of the Dice Tower Essentials line of games, including Onitama, Smartphones Inc., Aquatica, the brand new Sherlock 13, a light deduction game for 2 to 4 players where anyone could have committed the crime. Available at your friendly local game store or wherever you buy games.
Awesome. And we always love it when you share our stream so that way we can talk to more people and have a great morning. So I'm going to give you time to do that right now. And Julie, there's plenty going on in the news today.
There is. So starting first, we're talking about the Golden Geek Awards and the winners, which is pretty exciting, friends. Which I'm
now pulling up so that I can reference them.
Because I went on to the next topic in my notes. Totally fine. Totally cool. Yeah, no. So Golden Geek Awards, winner for 2-player game was Undaunted. Artwork presentation was On Mars. Card game was Dune Imperium. Cooperative game, Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. Expansion, Wingspan, Oceania. Innovated Micro Macro, Crime City.
That one looks interesting.
There's a bunch. I'm gonna stop there because there's a whole list. But congratulations to all the winners. The link is in our descriptions, so you can go see who all won. Congratulations to everybody who was nominated and to those who won. But our other topic, of course, is, again, Convention Watch 2021.
Right.
So we have from Gen Con, which we've been talking about because it is the first major convention that might be happening. It is looking more and more likely. I will say there have been a lot of people speculating about the level of safety, not security, but safety because of COVID of what they're doing. And so the blog, they've been doing a monthly blog leading up now. And so April 22nd, they released a blog. So that link is also, they can tell you all the things both the convention center are doing and Gen Con in particular are doing to try to ensure that everybody is practicing, being safe, being spaced out. They have said that means that the number of attendees will be about half of what it usually is, somewhere between 30 and 40,000 people. We will not have Lucas Oil Stadium because the time has changed. We pushed it back. And that there will be some concentrated effort on more outdoor events, which in August sounded terrible. Mid-September might not be quite as bad in Indianapolis, but we'll have to wait and see on that because it could still be really hot. Who knows? And then finally, Essen Spiel has announced that they are happening this year live. So if you're a publisher that was considering attending and you can plan in advance for your games to be there and all of that, and you want to attend, now you are open for registering. So have that conversation with your team, make those decisions.
Is there actual international travel restrictions happening right now?
Right now, yes, but they're scheduled to be removed by that point. So in timelines. So in theory, you will be able to go, not for sure. So we at Greenbrier Games, because we're not as big a company, have determined that the uncertainty was not worth it for this year. But I know, one of our sponsors, Arcane Wonders, is planning on attending. So, it just depends on your company and your decision-making process for this year. So that is the news.
So You guys can always click the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner, and you can choose to be notified every time that we are live. And we also have the link to our YouTube account in the description box below, so you can subscribe and view our shows, archive shows after streaming.
Yeah. So
Somebody's here.
somebody is here. So when I was as new as a shiny penny
I love
in
that.
the industry,
Shiny
our
penny
Green
too.
Buyer Games account was assigned to Jenelle to be our buyer for our Alliance distribution. And I was, at that point, just knowledgeable enough to be dangerous. So
I
will
think you
say
still are.
I'm knowledgeable enough now to know that I don't know everything. And to know who to ask. But thank goodness that Jenelle was there to set me straight back then. And from then until now, I've learned more about what to do and what not to do from her than I ever imagined was possible for distribution. And I'm so glad she's in the industry and that she agreed to be here today. So friends, let's welcome Jenelle Risser O'Neill.
Janelle, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I love Julie's intros. It's so
yes, thank you.
fantastic. Oh my goodness. So we're super excited to have you. And I just want you to introduce yourself and what do you do for the industry?
Okay. So I have been with Alliance Games for just over 23 years. I started actually in a data entry position, moved into international and then to domestic sales. I was in that for 17 years. I went over to our purchasing department for 4 years. And then just recently, a little over a year ago, became the Midwest sales manager over the sales staff. So, I've been around a minute.
Yeah. You've done some stuff. You've seen some things.
Yeah. Only slight scarring happening, but it's
fine. Right. There's some things that cannot be unseen. I'm so sorry.
All right. So hypothetically, a publisher is announcing that it's releasing a game into retail. So what is your process? And by yours, I mean distribution's process. Once you get that information, 1, if the game is new, and 2, if it's a reprint.
Okay. So the vendor will typically contact the buyer, sending them the information on the product, sell sheets, pictures of the product, and then your general information, pricing, USB, title, that type of stuff. The buyer then takes that information, loads it into the system, and then passes it forward to the sales teams and to the marketing. The marketing, depending on if there have been any prior discussions on doing Facebook blasts, anything over social media. With the sales department, we typically get those, we call them new item reports. We get them, we look through them. The buyer typically indicates to us whether or not it is a short solicit, meaning that it is under kind of the industry desirable standard is a 3-month solicitation time. But sometimes things happen and that's not able to be. So they'll let us know. Typically, if it's a short solicit, then we have to, make a more concerted effort. The longer you can solicit for your products, the more touches through social media, through your own grassroots marketing, through the sales reps mentioning, through it getting into our Game Trade magazine, which goes to all of our customers as a free magazine monthly. The longer you can get the word out there and have that time to solicit, the better usually your return on getting and collecting those pre-orders. Now, if it's a restock item, if it's something that became very hot and sold out very quickly, and then we know, oh, okay, well, they're going to be doing a reprint, we've got to really make an effort to collect those restock orders. Then sometimes we do like a blast through sales reps. They'll send out emails to their customers, making sure to gather and say, hey, like this really hot game is coming back in. Let's get you down for it so you can get a piece of the pie when it comes back in.
And the key piece there that I really liked was the fact that you said, if it's not 3 months, it's a short solicit. So ideally, you're letting your distribution know 3 months in advance when a game is landing and available, and please include what it's getting to port, it's all the delays in shipping that have been happening.
Yep.
It's in your warehouse and able to be turned around. So not the day it lands at the warehouse or at the port.
Yes.
It's already in stock, has been cataloged, and is ready to go back out. But so 3 months seems like a long ask, but with all those factors, it probably shouldn't be. It should be about the time that you know that the manufacturing is being done and being sent to be shipped out is about the time.
Yeah. And we even, sorry, Julie, we even ask that the product lands 10 days before, like if you've set a street or release date, we even ask that it land 10 days before that to give the warehouse enough time to get it received, to get it shelved, counted, and ready. And then also allowing the distributors to then turn around and get it shipped back out to the individual customer.
Absolutely. Right. And on the other end, once it is received and that magical day of release day arrives, retailer release, what's happening on your end there?
So depending on if it's a release upon receipt, which means it has no set street date. If it has a street date, that means that the distributor can then ship it to arrive to the store in order to sell it on a specific day, or a release date, which means you can't actually ship it from distribution until that particular day. So it's just a matter of having the date in the system all set up, the sales reps getting their customers prepped, letting them know the product has arrived, letting them know the days that it can ship, and then getting the order together to get out.
Yeah, and there's so many pieces to the process. And I mean, I worked in the retail chain there for a little bit, and I was just like trying to constantly communicate. It is probably the most important thing, and because there's so many games that are being released, how exactly, like, I know you have metrics, like I know that you have forecasting and different things that you do to figure out how much to buy of what and what to carry. How does that process go?
As far as how much to buy, so again, you're looking, the individual buyer is going to be looking at how long did it solicit, how many pre-orders were collected in that amount of time, how many stores. You can have a ton of pre-orders, but maybe only a couple of stores took a really large amount. You're looking at then the time frame of when it is coming out. Are there any other big releases that are also happening around that same time? Because that definitely impacts, if you're piggybacking onto a Magic release, hey, a lot of times, it's, if you're right after a Magic release, sometimes that can be kind of detrimental because people just spent a lot of money on their Magic product. Right. And it's going to take a little bit for them to turn that, and then ready to restock other games. So,
plus, and then you're fighting for warehouse space there, right? Too, like,
yeah, to an extent, as far as like bringing a product and if we have a container coming in, shifting space around. But I would say too that another piece is just to know how long of a shelf life, right? And that becomes a bit of, you're comparing to other games that are similar to, like product A that you're getting ready to buy. Is there anything else similar, or is it something that's pretty established that already has a pattern? So you can look back and see, was our turnover rate, like, do we bring in a 2 month supply? Distribution has, an alliance has a program called flooring, where we bring in a heavier amount of the product, but then the vendor still has ownership of it. It's a bit of a consignment, but we concentrate more then on having the inventory there as opposed to a turn rate, because we are a business, and we have to count our turnovers as far as the product, and nobody ever likes to run out of product, but that's usually when you actually make profit. So there are a lot of factors that go into it. And sometimes it is just straight up gut and guesswork, and hearing the buzz on how hot games are or not.
As an aside, before we get to, there was a question, I think, but I don't know if anybody's heard. Magic is planning on starting live tournaments again and live gameplay, and they announced it to the general public before they announced it to retailers, which was
super smooth.
You can all. We're not again. I'm just giving you information. I'm not going to editorialize, but I am certain there are retailers out there who have feelings about that.
There was a big mood, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a mood. Yeah,
it was a mood.
So James had a great question.
Yes.
A follow-up from our first question.
Let's see
which was, can you give your definition of 3 months from street date or 3 months to gather orders?
It's a little bit of both. 3 months from when you're wanting to release your product. So, counting in the 3 months, like if you want to release in October, knowing that you need to start talking to distribution in July. That makes sense. So giving that full 3 months time to get into the Game Trade magazine, because, with the Game Trade magazine for Alliance, there are certain issues depending on the month it comes out. Like we're wanting to also give the customers the longest amount of time to spread the word about your games. So, it really, you could even stretch it for a vendor to say, if you start talking to distribution in 4 months and then giving them the actual, setup of the game to get into their system and to start talking about it, produce it in any of their social media pushes, giving the information to the sales reps and that thing.
Right.
So to your point, it's 3 months from the date that of your choosing, but what consistently works better, I think slightly earlier is better. So I would think that 3 months from
street date?
From street date.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. From when you want it to start moving, the 3 months. And yeah, like I said, if there's, if it could be 4 months, that's great too. The more time you give, the longer there is to have those multiple media touches, right? To get it into, print publication, to get it into social media, to get it into talking to different reviewers and get it into the hands, in the day of that we're in now with so many games coming out and so many good games coming out. If you don't get that multiple touch, you kind of can get lost in the storm of it all. And so the more time and the more, grassroots efforts that you can also give it, I just find statistically, it just helps give the game the best chance possible.
And so, for publishers, some people are just straight retail and probably know all of these, but if you're somebody who's also done a Kickstarter, you're thinking in terms of Kickstarter backers who back and then back out and then jump on, whereas a retailer is going to make their order and move on to the, it's not nearly as volatile. So the longer you have, where early Kickstarter was like that, the longer time you had on Kickstarter, the better you had. Whereas now there's so many Kickstarters, people are jumping from thing to thing to thing. That's not how retail works. Typically, it's a much more consistent. I'm planning for these things, and then so they're also thinking, and we'll get to retailers in a couple of weeks, right, and get their take on it. But they're planning for multiple months out as well. So once they plan for it, they're moving on to the next thing to plan for, not so much going back and being like and making huge changes to their order.
Right.
When I was working at Wise Wizard, they had a retail, like I really worked hard to develop this retail release schedule, because that was the constant feedback from the distributors and retailers. They wanted to know when things were coming so they could anticipate the street date and really start to build buzz. And that was kind of my answer to the 4 month thing was, okay, this is the year's releases if you're able to do that. And then be like 90 days before. I was like, okay, here's all of the stats. Here's all of the, one of the things that came up constantly was country of origin. Why do they need to have country of origin on that information?
Why would a retailer or why would a vendor need to put the country of origin?
Why would the vendor need to put that in?
Because there are certain countries that we do have restrictions on selling into. Just knowing there are some that say, like, oh, you can sell this in North America only. There are some where it's US only, but we've got an exclusive up in Canada, so you can't. It's just, with NAFTA still rocking, there are just certain things that we just need to know. But
I mean, typically country of origin is also a tax purposes for you. The publisher is not as much the vendor per se, but I will say there's absolutely, especially when you start dealing with, so you have games that are published in Europe that are then later brought over to the United States, that deal localization, which is a whole other topic that we should get into at some point, but not today. Means you have signed a contract that you're localized, you're selling in a specific area. And we in the United States tend to have a pretty big area, but then, if you're new, you don't think about if you've signed it from the UK, you don't get to sell your English, language game to somebody in the, that's a breach of the contract. So that's more on publisher responsibility side.
Right.
What are some of the challenges you've had with the past year? Like shipping nightmares or some of the stores having to be closed, shut down, or limited occupancy, stuff like that. And also your own particular warehouse. What are some of the challenges and how have you overcome them this past year?
My wine consumption, I think, has increased.
Real, folks.
Too
this
real.
Is real.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, well, not me personally. I gotcha. So yeah, it has been very, very interesting. Of course, UPS delays, whether it's us shipping out to stores that we're getting delays or receiving products in from the different vendors. Of course, vendors have had all kinds of issues with production, with getting, there's a lot of stuff printed over in China. And, at one point, China was running out of containers and, charging huge amounts of money, like $3,000 extra for a container because none were going back to them.
Oh, they still are. They still are.
Oh, are they really? Ugh,
yeah.
Gross.
Sorry.
No, side note. Just tons and tons of delays. And with the UPS, as far as, they're just getting inundated now. So many more people are purchasing things online. So their backlogs are just huge. As far as our warehouse is concerned, we did, right in the middle of March, we sent as many people to work from home that were able to for our business. And we have still continued to be working from home. Our company was really concerned on making sure to keep the employees as safe as possible. They sent home anyone who had high risk, they themselves or family members. And I give a lot of props to them for that. They were more concerned with us being safe and staying healthy as opposed to just slogging through. Some of the other things we were trying to do for our customers, once we went through where even the warehouse had to shut down and, back in March and April, we basically for a while were just having the sales reps just calling around to the different stores, seeing kind of what's going on in their area because, we're all over the United States and, each state had their kind of own thing. So, we really tried to call out to the customers, not only just to say, hey, are you open? What's going on in your area? But we were in the weirdness of it all too. And so a lot of it was just kind of getting that personal connection back and, being able to say like, yeah, this is really weird stuff we're living in. And how are you doing? How's your family? And that was quite nice because it kind of felt like old school where you were actually being able to have the time to reconnect with your store and check in on them and see how everyone was doing. Business aspect for the customers, we work on a quarterly discount structure. Basically, kind of the more you spend, the higher your discount can go. We basically held off on that. Nobody would fall down any discount. We waived and stopped doing any late fees. If anybody had big orders that they had to pay for and then suddenly their store was closed for months and months, we reached out, we worked out payment plans. We just really tried to do whatever we could because we were all in that same situation, we weren't able to be shipping product. And so, I would say now our warehouse, they're doing the best they can. Business has been booming, but again, a lot of that, it's kind of, I hate to compare it because it's strange, but it's the same phenomenon that we had after 9/11, where, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the world and people just kind of want to hang out in their home, whether they want to or they're kind of now, have been forced to, but they want to buy a game and just play with their family and have kind of a repeat value for, their money. And so it's really been a significant increase in business because of that. But trying to get all of the products shipped out with limited staff and, everybody trying to keep their distance. And we're all still, again, dealing with those shipping delays or product delays because of it. It's been interesting, but
so turning that 3-month to a 4-month seems easier now. Oh yeah.
And sometimes it's like, now it's a 6-month solicit.
Yay!
And
well,
I
that's not a negative, right? Like it's not people get sick of hearing about it. You should still go for it.
Yes, absolutely, okay. Absolutely. And I just feel that right now, oh man, no, I totally lost my train of thought. You go. I was like, oh man,
so good.
This is my life. Awesome. So okay. What are some of the things that publishers can do to make sure that their game is getting noticed? Because you kind of talked about some terminology, which was helpful, like the flooring and explaining those things. What exactly what are your favorite communication tools to be able to interact with your vendors and figure out what they've got coming?
Okay. I would say super huge key for vendors is that sell sheet that gives, your typical where it's a picture of the product. You've got all of the key elements, stock code, title, price, USP, a short description, paragraph worth of, and even sometimes the extra, 2 to 4 players, ages this, whatever. That sell sheet gives so much information, not only to the buyer who is setting it up, but then also when it gets passed to the sales rep, it gives them that super short, brief explanation. Boom, I got it. It's all in a nutshell. I can see what the component, you highlight what the cool factor is, right? Because a sales rep doesn't have a ton of time to go through and, tell somebody all of the, accoutrements of this game and this game and this game. They want to have like the little hot, quick, like, oh, this one has really great components. Oh, this one has a cool feature that you do this.
So that is something when I was new as a shiny penny, I walked around at I think it was my first GAMA, but it might have been my first Alliance, which were my first 2 trade shows for the record. And I just walked around and everybody else was walking around talking and making friends and stuff. And I walked around, I was like, can I borrow your sell sheet? can I have one of your sell sheets? And I just stole a whole bunch of sell sheets
Yeah.
and looked at them. Now, if you're new and you can't go to a convention right now anyway, you can reach out. I have also subsequently reached out to several people in the industry that I trust and said, hey, what are your favorite sell sheets? And they have sent me their examples. And I will say, the simpler the sell sheet, the higher in their estimation, the better job it does. So you think you want to like cram it full of everything you can, but you don't. You want the 5-minute pitch. You want the elevator pitch on your sell sheet with the key information and the visual or one sentence wow factor that explains why you think it's great.
When I got into this Julie was my idol for this. Like her sell sheets, long before I knew Julie, long before. I had already found her website, already like gone through. She has a great press set, and I put it in the chat, guys.
You say I have it. It's Zach.
Right.
It's not
okay. Well, Julie's company knows their stuff, and I put it in there because this is gold standard, guys. This is not even like this isn't planned. I'm just telling you, Julie is gold standard on this. You guys should check her copy.
I'm getting a little embarrassed here, but yes, but the reason I think we do a fairly decent job is because from very early on, I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?" And doing that, like, what are the strongholds and the renegades and the doing that seems to be the same. What do they all have in common? That is what I want to emulate. So it wasn't I'm going to copy this one person. It was what are their sell sheets all seem to have in common. And what it was they weren't over filling their sheet with extraneous information that is cool, but when you're looking at 20 of them because you're a retailer, you don't have you just get overwhelmed. So that was super helpful.
I love it. Julie is gold standard, needs to be on a mug. Yep.
Really
that right
not.
there
really does not. Thank you though.
That is absolutely gonna happen, guys. I'm crafty.
I want one.
You're killing me. You're all killing me.
And to alleviate Julie's embarrassment, I also put in Wise Wizards because they also have good sell sheets for distribution side, and then also Pandasaurus has amazing retailer resources. So these are all really, really good stuff. So all right.
But okay, so sell sheet is great. Any other tools? Is there an online tool? Is it easier to communicate through? Do you want a consistent newsletter? Do you want something? What is there anything else, or is it just give me the sell sheet when you have it?
As far as distribution goes, the sell sheet really is insanely important for that communication. I would say, as far as also touching base with the marketing teams at the different distribution levels, they have so many extra resources that, as a vendor to work with, whether it's, and it's not all just, pay us for an ad. You can do reviews. You can do an article of your game. You can do, like a review of, we're going to start a family game series for our company. This is what it's all about. That's a huge thing that I think some newer vendors, maybe it's something that's not always necessarily thought about, is like, what kind of game company are you? What am I representing to my audience? Am I selling, family games? Am I touching on, the party game aspect and making sure that, it's fine if you have a mix, like one's a really tactical game and one is, management resource, whatever. But really getting across to the consumer, the retail stores, and then your end consumer on what kind of games are you representing? Like, what is your company? Like, what do you stand for?
Well, right. What is your mission statement?
Yes. So,
which seems
I
old
think that's a
fashioned,
huge-
but having a mission statement really does, like,
Yeah.
what games, until we on our website, until I wrote out, here are your guidelines. If you want to email us for as a designer, here are the games we're looking for. And I have
Oh,
that for both artists and designers,
that's
an
awesome.
outline of here's a whole laundry list. If you have at least 5 of these things that your game can describe of, we would like to look at it. If it's less than 5, we are not the company for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right. That really consolidated who we were and what we were about. And I will say that we struggled with it early on as well, because we were just like, oh, that's a cool game. That's a cool game. But
Yeah.
your fan base, the people, your customer base that's loyal to you,
Mhm.
also are looking for a specific type of game. And so
Right.
if you're all over the place, then you have to really sell it with the fact that you're all over the place, like, genre wise.
Right. Yeah.
That they're all consistently, like, knock it out of the ballpark, amazing games to really usually pull it off.
I think just having that focus or just the ability to have the category focus, like you name certain really well-known vendors and, you say one and a particular, thought comes into your head, right? Like you say Fantasy Flight Games and you kind of automatically mentally categorize what kind of game you would be getting when you go to pick up that game. And it's just going to help in the long run when a new product of yours comes out as a vendor where it's like, oh, yeah, they do this style of game. I really dig that. I'm going to go ahead and try this out, right? And that goes for the store, the retail store, and for end consumer. So I would say, again, going back to the kind of getting the word out, that is a great opportunity like I said, in our own Game Trade magazine, where you can write an article or just information about your games to try to be able to kind of help get the word out there, get people to kind of understand what category your company
or
is
and as a tool for retailers and distribution, communicating to retailers. What that does for them is they know which retailers are carrying that type of, or have those types of customers as well. It's helping you in so many ways that you don't realize if they understand what games you're about. If you're family-friendly games, then they are not doing, the game store that's hardcore into RPGs. If they, it helps them. Or if that store suddenly decides for their Christmas sale they want family-friendly games, then they know to be like, oh, you want family-friendly games for this short period of time? Here are the new hot ones. This one from these companies. Go. It gives them a shorthand as well. It's an excellent communication tool. To your point. So
many good things.
So many good things, but we and I would love to keep going because I love having you here, but we have to wrap up. So if anybody watching wants to start thinking about talking to Alliance Distribution, what is step 1?
All right. Go
Yes.
ahead.
Do you have? Yeah. Okay. So our one of the buyers, Mike Prennion, you see his information there. He is the buyer that you can send your information to. Don't mind my cat in the background there.
I mean, it's not a real.
I'm sorry.
meeting.
The whole show is about your cat now. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes. Not doing anything too embarrassing. Okay. So reach out to Mike. He's the one that will first review the games, take a look at it, and then if he sees and thinks that it is a good fit, he will then pass on to our VP of purchasing, and then we reach out and start a conversation about looking to pick up the games.
Awesome.
Okay.
So
many good comments here.
Yeah, I know. This was, oh my God.
So many things. And I put just
so
many
happy. Yeah.
I put so many links in the comments. I like, okay, here's publishing guidelines from XYZ. Here's publishing guidelines from Greenbrier. Here's all, I mean,
Tools
the people.
Tools of Mama.
Man, so good.
Good.
Oh, and there's Mike now. Hi, Mike. Awesome. Okay, so we have had things going on this week. Julie, I'm excited. Are you ready? There you go.
Yeah. So I'm working on game dev and game design. And since we haven't officially announced this game yet, this is all you're getting. This is your little Easter egg, friends.
Oh, cool.
But I'm working on a game. That's what I've been working on.
Very pretty.
That's it.
All right. Well, I have been doing fun branding things that make me happy because I can pull palettes out of people's office decor, and it makes me very, very excited to represent people. And that's really what I was doing this week.
Cool. And then next week, I am not available. So
she's gonna be gone. So we're doing something real cool. We're doing a rewind.
Yep. But it is still actually quite pertinent to what we've been talking about. So we're doing the Black Friday sale episode revisited because we spent a lot of time talking about planning ahead for kind of what we were talking about. So you're doing a 4-month lead for hobby store sales. Black Friday Revisited, we went really in depth into the lead time needed for Black Friday sales.
Yes.
And especially mass market. So now would be the time to start thinking about it. So we figured it would be a good rerun, a revisiting, if you will.
Yes,
for next
exactly.
week.
I will still go ahead and do it live. I'll still be in the comments. Julie might pop in. We'll see. And that is just what we're going to do along with the downloadables that she made. Man, you're still not going to want to miss it next week. So.
Yeah.
All right.
So, thanks everybody for showing up. Thank you, Jenelle.
Janelle, you're the best. That was so fun.
Yes, thank you so much. I appreciate
we
it.
really appreciated you hanging out with us.
Thank you.
And then, yay. This awesome session was sponsored this week by XYZ Game Labs. So once you're done here, go check them out and see what they're doing.
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube, and links are all in the description box below.
Enjoy your Friday, everyone. And remember, next week, you're invited.